use video-enabled sustainable packaging to make sure you get a positive ROI on your sustainable packaging. Welcome to the Cannabis Packaging Show, the world's first cannabis packaging show. I'm here to bring you some new and epic packaging for flower. We're going to focus on sustainable packaging, ideally affordable and sustainable packaging, but beautiful packaging that you've come to love from Cannabis Specialty Packaging. Or if you're new, I believe you'll love it because we help you differentiate yourself in a world full of commodity products, and you need to differentiate yourself in the cannabis industry. So to start, I have all sorts of cool options I'm going to share with you today that are in the flower category. But we're going to start by talking about 4 ways that you can go to sustainable packaging on a tight budget. 4 thoughts that I think will be helpful for you. We're going to rattle them off. The first thing is to always think about the relationship between cost and market share. If you just look at the fact that you're spending more for sustainable packaging versus a generic pop top, you're going to always be disappointed. Oh my gosh, I'm spending more. But think about it. By spending more, I'm going to appeal to more consumers and I'm going to grow my market share. So think about cost and market share. Number 2, use a lower percentage of recycled content. So one of the options I'm going to show with you today is an industry jar made from 100% ocean-bound plastic. But if you're on a budget, go down to 25%. You don't need to do 100. You're still removing a lot of plastic from the ocean. You're removing 1 million jars at 25% is the same as 250 jars at 100%. Just some simple math for you. So you're making a positive impact even if you don't go at 100%. So that's suggestion number 2. Number 3, use video-enabled sustainable packaging to make sure you get a positive ROI on your sustainable packaging. If Tom's Shoes, the famous company, never told anyone they were donating a pair for every pair sold, we'd say they're crazy, but that's what you're doing and a lot of people are doing with their sustainable packaging. What some of my clients are doing with their sustainable packaging, and we're going to change that this year. So put a QR code. I'm going to show you an example. Put a QR code on the back of your packaging. This is video-enabled sustainable packaging. Put a QR code on it. You pull out your phone. The consumer sees a little call to action. Scan to learn more about this sustainable packaging. In this case, there's actually a little note from the founder. Scan to learn more about the sustainable packaging. They pull out their phone, their camera, and it pulls up a video. And that video is going to tell them, explain to them why the packaging is sustainable. So I actually have the video right here to show you. If the Wi-Fi cooperates in the building, we're in our new production studio. And here we go. Okay, so as you can see here, there's messages about the company, about the brand, explaining not only what the sustainable packaging is, why it's good for the planet, so the consumer understands that. I'll link this video below. We can actually make these videos for you. I'm calling them video-enabled sustainable packaging, but it's all about telling your story. And that's a positive way to make sure you get that positive ROI. Make sure consumers fall in love with you because you're going sustainable rather than you spending more money and them not noticing. By the way, also, that's also good for raising capital, investors who want to invest in brands that are not using unsustainable packaging. And it's also good for retaining and gaining employees, people that want to work for companies that align with their personal values. Number 4, try it on one SKU. Okay, so let's say you're buying all sorts of packaging. I don't want to risk it. It's too risky. It's too much work. I'm too busy. I get all that. I totally understand it. Try it on one SKU. Try it on one new flavor. Try it on one new product and see what kind of a response you get. I'm curious to see what kind of a response you get. I know it's going to be good. I just don't know how good, and we'll see how good that can be. Okay, so those are 4 tips. I hope you find them valuable as you're thinking about moving to sustainable packaging. We're trying to keep everything sustainable packaging on a budget because I know companies are on a budget in the cannabis industry, but maybe you have to be on less of a budget if you go sustainable and differentiate yourself. You don't want to play the commodity game, but I do get that price matters. So the first one I'm going to show you is the one that I already mentioned. It's our industry jar made in 100% ocean-bound plastic. We could make this also in 25% industry jar, super easy to open. It's child resistant certified, but it's also super easy to open. This can be customized in endless numbers of ways, but we wanted to keep it simple because I guess part of sustainability is simple print finishes. So you open this up, it's sort of line up the arrows and pop it open. Again, as long as you're lined up. Super simple to open. You're not trying to pry this thing open with a knife to get it open as some CR packages. And what you'll notice right away is there's a freshness insert in there, which we've proven does a phenomenal job to keep the product fresh. Moisture loss, terpene degradation. The freshness insert does an incredible job of that. It's got a round, smooth bottom. It has no neck at the top so that it's easy to grab the products, right? It's sometimes annoying to grab into a jar where there's a serious neck. It's got the wide mouth. It's super automation friendly. So this product's becoming very, very popular, and why not make it in ocean-bound plastic? 25%, you could do 10% if you wanted, but I think 25 is a good threshold. That is the industry jar. Again, the video-enabled sustainable packaging would be QR code on that. You scan it, and the consumer can learn about what ocean-bound plastic is and what you're doing as a brand by moving to ocean-bound plastic, what a positive impact you're having on the environment, what a positive impact they are having every time they buy your product. Next product, also in ocean-bound plastic. Talking pretty fast, but we got a lot to cram in. I know you're busy. I'm busy. Let's do this. Pop Top. 25% ocean-bound plastic. This one actually has video-enabled sustainable packaging on it, and this is a super affordable option. Let's say you don't want to go super custom with your packaging, but you want to do something more. You're on a tight budget or you're going for a value brand. This is a great option. You could tell a great sustainability story. You're genuinely making a positive impact, but your price point's super low. So Pop Top, custom PMS colors, Contemplo Specialty Packaging can do all that for you. If you want to work with us or you're interested in getting our complete catalog, email WOW, at contemplopackaging.com. We've been in the cannabis packaging business over 5 years now. Our parent company, over 40 years, building some of the largest brands in the fashion and retail industry, Contemplo Specialty Packaging. Next, I'm going to throw you a little curveball here, a little outside the box idea. I'm actually going to throw you a couple curveballs here, a few outside the box ideas. So this is our locking tin, traditional for pre-rolls. This size is traditionally for gummies, all metal, no plastic. One of the great things about these tins is they use no plastic, which is great. Number one, from a sustainability perspective, just not using plastic, consumers appreciate. But number two, if you use a CR tin that mixes plastic and the tin in order to make it CR, you're contaminating that plastic and reducing the chance that it's going to actually be recyclable. So these are all metal, no plastic. And then we put a cool matte strike on this one. We'll show this one when we do our pre-roll episode. We got an insert here made out of ocean-bound plastic with a compartment for matches. This is pretty cool. And this can be removable and recycled too, the plastic piece, just so you don't think I'm contradicting myself because I just said don't have plastic. I'm talking about when the plastic is in the CR function. But anyways, you don't need to use plastic for the insert. But what you could do is you could use an insert similar to this made out of ocean-bound plastic to keep the flower fresh, or you could just use the tin on itself and do some sort of shrink wrapping to make sure that you keep it fresh. The other option I want to show you, which we're going to get to in a moment, it's as if I'm right in front of you presenting, so I hope I'm not too informal over here. But we got this cool freshness plug that we have on our round tin that kind of can serve almost as both a freshness plug, both a way to create a better and just a fun user experience. And then also this could double as an ashtray. So if you imagine any of these tins, whether it's our round tin or this deeper dish tin, you could have this freshness plug that doubles as an ashtray. We currently made this tooled up for the round tin, but we could tool up and do something similar. I think for the rectangle, we'd have to make sure that the CR still functions properly, but that's a fun option. So picture these guys. We can make different size tins, but this is probably the deepest we'd want to go. Or you got this beautiful CR round tin again with this almost built-in ashtray. No one's doing that. Just to tell you, no one, think about what are the people in other markets doing with their packaging, especially your competition who's largely going in generic packaging. No one's thinking this way. There's a beautiful embossing on the top of this tin. This feels like the caliber of the best packaging in the world because it's coming from the company that's built some of the best packaging in the world for other brands in the fashion industry and 5 years of cannabis experience. So that's what we do. If you want something super fast, there's other companies for that have stuff in stock, although we do have a stock program. We want to help you create beautiful, differentiated cannabis packaging. So those are our tins. Similarly, this item's in R&D. It's called our Shape Lock Box. Again, originally, I'm going to show you this. Just look at the beauty of it. Okay, this is like the best packaging. Again, I'm biased because I helped develop all this stuff, I understand, but truly ask yourself, have you seen cannabis packaging this beautiful? It's not clumsy, it's not clunky. A lot of CR packaging, it's like weird and hard to open. So you could do the shape lock box. We could make this a little bit deeper with an ocean-bound plastic insert that you could put the flower in, and you could literally have boxes of flower. We could do this probably more affordably than you think also. Super outside the box, the industry jar, we sell a lot of those for flower. That's proven made for flower. This is thinking more outside the box. Again, the idea is just to get you thinking about ideas to differentiate yourself, because that's the key word for this year, differentiation. Let's talk about another differentiated idea. Check out this board pre-roll tube that is sort of a board pop top or a board pre-roll tube. So I did the math. This is the tube version. This would maybe be better for an eighth. The tube version has just a small plastic pop top, which we could make with ocean-bound plastic. And this right here is an 80% reduction of plastic because you're using mostly board. We could also put a food-grade liner. And then we could do this other size. This is more of a prototype. We'd have to tool up a little bit for that, but we could do it fairly quickly. And you could have these beautiful customizations on a board flower pop top, again, with video-enabled sustainable packaging. So picture again, on this pop top, this board pop top, we make it with really beautiful print finishes and customizations so it really pops on the shelf, right? So you don't get lost. Someone sees it, goes, oh, what's that? And the bud tender has already seen the QR code. They've already scanned it. So they've learned that you're going in sustainable packaging. So they naturally like you. And you're just positioning yourself in a much more powerful way than just putting your packaging in, the same old packaging that you've seen for a long, long time. Okay. Take the time to differentiate yourself. I know it takes time to differentiate. I know that process can take anywhere from a month to 3 months or more time, but it's worth it. Okay. Let's keep going. Here's another version of the industry jar just to show some clarity. People say, how clear can you get it? We can't get it totally clear yet. We're working on that, but with the resin we use, you can get it somewhat clear. Okay. Another version of the industry jar. What else? We make glass jars. We make them, beautifully branded with all sorts of cool finishes and coatings and bamboo tops. But if you want to go a more sustainable option, there's no more sustainable than picture this glass jar. That label is made from 100% hemp fiber. And we did an example of video-enabled sustainable packaging for the hemp label. You talk about the fact that hemp sequesters carbon, hemp prevents trees from being cut down, hemp regenerates the soil. It adds nutrients to the soil wherever it's grown, which is important for every single one of us for the sake of the nutrition that we're getting from our food. So tell that story when the consumer scans the QR code. So you go with the glass flower jar. You could do ocean-bound plastic in the cap. This one doesn't happen to be, but CR glass flower jar, great option. We actually have this glass jar in stock. We can make these labels in-house 2 to 3 weeks in the States. As you guys know, Contempo's a manufacturer of packaging, domestic, North America, as well as overseas. So depending on the item, it might be available in certain areas versus not. But we're finding ways as a company, just to take a quick segue, to be fast and nimble. So don't think that all this stuff comes from overseas. It takes a while. We just invested in digital printers downstairs that can print in 2 to 3 weeks a very beautiful custom pre-roll tin that we already have in stock. And we also have our own stock program of some really beautiful options that are, again, semi-custom. We can put a label on them. We can digitally print on certain items. We can direct print. We're building that infrastructure here because I know a lot of you need to be quick and nimble. So I call it a hybrid model. If you want to go super low cost, most customization, you have Asia as your option. If you want to go fast, nimble, but still beautiful, you have USA stock program. And then we also are manufacturing packaging in the USA as well. We're doing boxes in Mexico as an example, our Vault box, our signature cartridge and pre-roll pack in Mexico. So reach out to us, wow@contempopackaging.com. We really have a great line that meets a lot of the needs. We've fine-tuned our offering a lot over the last couple of years. Secondary package, made out of 100% hemp fiber. Check out this box that hemp jar could go in with the hemp label, and you could have a little more space to tell your story. And if you're into secondary packaging, I know not everyone is, but if you're into secondary packaging, that's a great option. Next option, super quick. I'll go over this, GRS certified. If you guys don't listen to the podcast, The Sustainable Packaging Show, I just did an episode, or I did a lot of episodes last year educating on the basics of sustainable packaging. Like, what does GRS even mean? What does ocean-bound plastic mean? Why is hemp sustainable? So check out our podcast, the Sustainable Packaging Show podcast. I posted on Spotify, Apple, a few different places. If you're into sustainable packaging, want to learn more, I put a lot of time into that, and I believe you'll find it helpful, and I truly hope it would be helpful if you took a look. Final notes. We got some options here for our friends in Canada. So we've been doing packaging since the Canadian market opened. You guys don't have the most creative options with your packaging, but to be honest, all kidding aside, that really makes, I think, the primary packaging more important. So when you can make something super colorful and super creative with your branding and print, maybe there's less, this is what I'm arguing, I don't have proof of this, but maybe there's less of a need to go into something super unique than when you just have one color. Maybe you want to go into something that's a little differentiated so the consumer has a cool experience and is like, oh, I'm going to buy that product instead of a competitor because that package is really cool. So just a thought, do with that what you may. The last option I'm going to show you is our Mylar bags. So we've sold a lot of Mylar bags over the years. Again, not because I want to sell Mylar bags, but because the market demands Mylar bags in cheap packaging at times, which is why inexpensive, I should say, right? Not cheap. Inexpensive packaging at times, which is why we offer what the market wants, and which is why I'm trying to show other options that are affordable but also sustainable. But one of the cool things, if you're into Mylar bags, we can do A, custom shapes. B, we can do recycled content in the bags, 25% or more recycled content. And C, we can put Contempure in the bags. Contempure, our additive that is not oxidogradable. It does not fragment and create microplastics, but it allows these bags to biodegrade faster in a landfill environment. So some of you guys might be sensitive to using additives. I know a lot of cannabis packaging companies use additives in their plastic and they just say, oh, this biodegrades, right? That's not being transparent. So this will accelerate the biodegradation. It will make the plastics more attractive to microbes. That's how Contempure works, but it's not going to weaken the plastics of the bonds. And I like them mostly in these types of plastics, these Mylar bags. Not as much a fan in an injection molded plastic because you could make that out of ocean bound. That could be recycled. There's a better end of life story, or maybe you could go into tin or glass or something that's not a single use plastic. But with Mylar bags, this is more, the way I'll say this as I'm gathering my thoughts. If you're using Mylar bags already, and if you've talked to your company, you've talked to your CFO, and they're only going with the low-cost packaging. That's just the nature of the company. That's realistically where we are right now with some companies in the market. Consider using Contempure in those bags because those are definitely going to the landfill. These bags, so if you guys don't know, flexible packaging, you can't recycle it in the blue bin, so you have to bring it to the grocery store to recycle it. So you're talking a very small percentage of people that are going to take that effort. Additionally, these bags are made with multiple layers, right? Foil layers and plastic layers together, which makes them not recyclable in those store drop-offs. So you're talking about the only recyclable bags would be if they're all made out of plastic and they're going to be taken to a store drop-off to collect them, which is such a small percentage. That's why I'm a fan of, if you're going to go with these bags, not that they're the best choice, but if you're going to, for necessity reasons, consider Contempure, or at least recycled content in those bags. Okay, so I hope that gives you some options. Again, we have many more options. I could show you some really cool glass jars we've done. I could show you different industry jars, but we want to talk to you. Reach out, wow@contemplepackaging.com. But the main message from this video is that, number one, you can go sustainable on a budget. Number two, sustainable can be good for business. And number three, there are many differentiated options, ways to differentiate your packaging, and that in today's market, as it becomes more competitive, you can't play the commodity game anymore. It's not going to work where you just put your packaging in anything and it's going to sell because cannabis is popular. Cannabis is now no different, becoming no different, almost there. I'd still say in some markets you can put it in anything, new markets that are emerging, but in other markets, it's no different from coffee. The people that succeed in the coffee business are not because they're the cheapest or because they happen to be able to produce and roast coffee beans. It's because they build a brand, they differentiate themselves, they find ways to connect with their consumers. We'll talk about that more on the show, but we'll leave that there. Thank you for watching the Cannabis Packaging Show, and we'll see you on the next one.